Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Alongside of me, my brother Doug Shear. Always glad to have you alongside me, brother.
Yes. Good morning, Zach, and everyone else. Oh, it's Rob. It's just Rob. Never mind. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning, Rob. You two are so funny. Like, you're just back and forth, cracks me up.
Can you imagine if we finally meet face to face and we don't like each other? That would just be weird, right?
I would be shocked if you guys didn't like each other. You guys are just so funny.
Yeah.
Morning, Saul.
I think Rob he could almost be a one-upper, but he's not, and that's what I like about him. Because if he was a one-upper, then I'm all done. Those are the people that drive me nuts, by the way, one-uppers. But he's not. Just be clear.
Do something, they do it better, right?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Not Rob though.
We just talked about that in the pre-roll a little bit. People chasing you.
Oh yeah, but not Rob though. Come on, let's be clear, because that guy will punch me in the face. He's from Texas, so.
I feel like you're chasing Rob because Rob's riding like 5,500 miles a day.
Yeah, but he's much older than me, so he can't keep up that pace. So.
Poor Rob, so picked on. Love you, buddy.
Yep.
Love you, buddy. Yeah, so we're talking timing today. I didn't get to listen to the podcast yesterday, by the way. It was a rough day.
Yeah, we rambled. I won't be able to make the knitting club tomorrow because I have a Zoom for the company. So a Zoom meeting with the company. But yeah, just knit 1, purl 2 for me tomorrow, will you? In our what do we call this?
Overbooked, buddy.
Overbooked is what we call the 21 irrefutable laws. And we've been meeting, like 15 weeks now?
Yeah.
16 weeks?
Yeah, Doug didn't like calling it a book club because he felt like he was knitting all the time, though. I think that's a personal thing. I just like to knit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, overbooked. It's been good. I had a thought going into the next one, and I don't know, man. I don't know if we're gonna continue on that. There's been some other good books brought up along the way, so I don't know. I think in the next week or so we're gonna have to figure out, because we're on law 17, right? 17.
Yeah. Actually, Paul Hartland was in my office yesterday, and we were talking about it, and then he goes, I said, you got to read it, Paul. And he goes, why do I need to read it? I'll just listen to the grind every week and get through these chapters. And I said, I don't know, man. I don't think it's as good as reading it yourself, but
it's true.
I still think it's an open invitation to anyone who's interested in joining in the next book, right?
Actually, we are going to have to figure it out this week. This is law number 19.
Yep.
So we're going to need to figure out what we're doing pretty soon. Yeah, so I was thinking about Leadership, right, which is another book. It really compounds on this book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws. It's fantastic. But there's been some other good books brought up along the way. And so I don't know. I don't know which way we're going to go. We'll pull the audience. We'll pull the group and overbook.
The knitting club. Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking today. We've ADD'd off in this intro. We're talking law of timing, and one of the things that can happen, especially to young leaders, new managers, new service. Dude, I'm struggling. My brain is fried. We talked about that earlier. Is that you don't have the skills yet, right? They can be developed to make the right action call at the right time. That takes a little bit of development. And so early on in leadership, I don't know about you, but I found myself in this position making the wrong action at the right time, or maybe the right action, but at the wrong time. Like it was a struggle to kind of find that balance until I began to, on occasion, and even still, I still can make one of those other choices.
Well, if you could figure out what's causing it all, that'd be wonderful. But I think it's just the journey of life and circumstances around it. And Well, I believe that the law of timing definitely is interwoven with many of the other laws.
Yeah, that you can't really separate them.
Not especially this one. I mean, you just
Yeah.
can't. It's there, tying many of them in. So,
And
which
we'll go,
timing has been my challenge. I mean, God has been good and action has been successful, but I'd rather be in the driver's seat of timing than to try to catch up and keep up and take advantage of what's coming my way. I want to be more intentional this next year or two. So.
we'll talk about the laundry list of things, the skills that you need to grow to kind of help you. And we'll share from some of our experience of being behind that 8 ball and having our timing off. We might have been making the right action, but just at an incorrect time, whether it was too far ahead or too far behind. So I'll bring the verse. You want to pray us in, and then we'll dig into this.
Sure.
All right.
Morning, Lord. We're here today to worship you and thank you for who you are and how much you love us. And Lord, as we navigate life, we know that you want us to be by your side. But you also know that we have this desire to be our own kings, which affects our timing. And so, Lord, I just pray that you help us be with you moment by moment in all that we do, not so that we can be successful or so that we could always avoid problems or hardships, but just so that we can be with you and celebrate the successes and be with you during the challenges and be with you during the big moments of decisions. So, Lord, we want you to be intimately involved in our lives, in our businesses, and with our customers. And so we pray all this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right. So our verse from today, we're in Nehemiah again. I know Doug and I just read that last week, but we're in it again. It's all right. Nehemiah 2:17 and 18. So if you're not familiar with this, Jerusalem is in ruins, and Nehemiah has been called to take the Israelites to begin to rebuild Jerusalem. So here we are before they set out on the journey. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we're in? Jerusalem's in ruins. Its gates have been burned with fire. Let us rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and we'll no longer be in disgrace. I told them about God's gracious hand on me and what the king had said to me. They replied, let us start rebuilding. And they began this good work. And so Nehemiah really obeyed the law of timing. He trusted and he continually went back. He had been refused several times by the king to go back and rebuild Jerusalem. And he finally got the permission to go, and they went. So it's, timing. Saul distracted me. So he just stopped and got at a Cuban cafe and got a shot of Cuban coffee. Zach, you need this in your life. What a great life we have. Tell you what, buddy.
Be grateful for espresso.
You find me that in Texas, and we'll go have a shot of Cuban coffee in Texas together.
There you go.
Are you coming, right? You're coming to Etsy? I don't know who all comes to ASDI.
That'd be great.
They bring a whole crew with them. So, all right. So we have 4 things, right? Did you guys introduce the 4 things yesterday? The 4 variables of timing? Okay. So I feel like wrong action, wrong time, probably more often than not is people inward focused, right? Like it's selfish. It's, like the example he used was the governor of Louisiana, and he was just so focused on himself, and then the government that's so focused on themselves. The next one would be right action and wrong time. You're going to find resistance. So you're doing the right thing. You're just not doing it at the right time. So Nehemiah experienced that, right? He went to the king and said, hey, we want to go and rebuild. Like, it's in ruins. This is our culture. This is our heritage. We want to rebuild this and honor our God. And the king going, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen until the timing was finally the right action at the right time, right? So right action, wrong time. Now, this is where the laundry list is. This is the laundry list of things that, as a leader, as a technician, as a CSR, whatever your role, this is where you can begin to really hone in as a leader. So, understanding, you got to have a firm grasp of the situation. Maturity, if your motives aren't right, you're going to pick the timing that is best for yourself instead of the team. And that leads to wrong action, wrong time more often than not. Confidence. People are going to follow leaders who know what must be done. There's a confidence that this must be done. Decisiveness, wishy-washy leaders get wishy-washy followers. So have you ever experienced that, Doug? Kind of
Sure,
like
of course.
wishy-washy?
Yeah. I left companies for that reason, because I needed strong leadership.
Have you ever been wishy-washy in your leadership?
Of course, completely.
Yeah. We all have. We all. I mean, it's a pitfall of leadership. It really is a pitfall. It's
but the instinct is to blame the audience, right? You go, oh my gosh, don't you see all the variables? Cut me some slack. This isn't easy. Could you do better? This is all just chatter in your head, right? Oh, thank you, Paul, for that endorsement, buddy. I don't think that's the first time I've seen a strong endorsement from Paul here on the grind. I love you, Paul.
That's funny. Experience. People trust experience. So if a leader does not possess experience, they need to gain wisdom from others who do. So if you have not experienced these things, reach out to someone. So I just had this conversation. TK and I were talking with EJ last night. I have personally been through the situation that he's it was all in good fun.
It's all Zach's fault, right, Paul? It's a classic action technician mode. They blame someone else. See, he just did it right there, right now.
See, and I was just doing it to pick on you. I know that it wasn't. Yeah, it's all in good fun, buddy. It's all in good fun. I got to pick on Doug. So you got to gain wisdom from others who don't. So EJ is going into a situation that I myself have actually been in twice before as a leader. And so I just shared from my experience, hey, these were the things that I had to look out for. These are the safeguards that I wish I had put in place. Do with it what you will, right? And so and TK had a different perspective. And so EJ was looking for that wisdom from people who had been through that path, that experience, that he didn't have that experience himself. So experience is something that you can reach out to others. You can get a mentor, you can get a mastermind, you can have these people around you to kind of help bolster that experience, right? That's what we do at Service Alliance Group and in the Alliance Facebook pages. Intuition. This is a hard one to learn. This is just time. Like you just learn this over time, and then you either have it or you don't. Like it's kind of, not an in between. Intangibles, momentum, morale, a little bit of luck, right? Like we can create our own luck, but there does have to be some things that fall into place. And then preparation. If conditions aren't right, you got to create those conditions.
Right.
And these can all lead you to the right action at the right time. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like timing is one that is literally interwoven into all of these laws.
Paul, I knew where you were going with it. It wasn't trying to bait you. I was literally just picking on Doug. It's all good.
I was unsure. I moved all his calls off his schedule today, so just now.
Oh, goodness gracious.
No, they're literally interwoven, right? I mean, to have the inner circle, to the law of navigation, to know where you're heading, and then to have to adjust because not everything lines up in the timing wise, right? And I think, what do you think? Intuition is the one that I think mostly ties close to that one, or maybe do you feel differently? I feel like intuition and timing are almost the yin and yang here.
Yeah, I feel like they're the ones that are the hardest to create, right? Like the situations have to be right. Like intuition, you can develop that over time, right? But you have to develop it over time. Like it's just not gonna just like you can't just go, I'm gonna have intuition. Like it doesn't work that way. It
But I
takes
remember it
time.
being very intentional, though, for me as a technician. The first time I went into a house, I'm 19 years old with a mullet. I've been on the road a year. Something I did 45 times, said or did, never had a problem. And then that one time somebody
Mm,
reacts or something goes haywire there. I'm sitting there going, I need to know if this
mm,
is going to happen again. Could this happen again? And I'm going to change it up to prevent it. That develops intuition because you
mm.
start to be aware of what happens, and that again leads to your timing for sure.
But it didn't just happen. That's my
Oh
point.
no, no,
Like
no! It's
intuition and
exercise.
timing,
Yeah,
like just they can't just happen. Like there's
no.
and I feel like that's why they are yin and yang. You have to really work to begin to develop that. You have to take a moment to slow down and really look around and notice things, right? Even the small things, because that's how you're going to begin to build on these principles. It's easy to get target lock and pattern blindness, right, as a leader, and so that will actually take you away from intuition
Mm.
and timing, right, and it can lead you to you may have the best intentions, right, like this is a great program, like you just shared you guys hired on a technical advisor, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and so, like, but maybe 6 months ago, that wasn't the right time. There wasn't gonna be the right candidate
Mm.
or, the company wasn't in a position, as far as the other pieces of the puzzle, right? You had to really rely on a little bit of intuition, and timing to line that up correctly. Had you tried to force that 6 months ago, do you think it would have gone?
Actually, the example is a great one as you're describing. I think that scenario happens to us a lot, but I'd say that I am still reacting
Mm,
as a guy running a business.
mm,
Like I needed this person a year ago,
mm,
you know, because if you're going to hire 5 brand new green technicians and you're going, yeah, I know they're going to need a lot of help. We'll
mm,
get through it. We'll get through it. We'll and we've tried different things. And I'm not saying they're fails, but we've tried. Paul's a lead tech. Paul is a mentor tech to one of the newer guys, and and that works to a degree, but it wasn't sustainable.
mm,
So thanks to you, Zach. Thanks to all the guys, and the knitting
mm,
club and all that. I'm realizing that we need to. The timing is that you have to kind of plan ahead.
mm,
And what's great about this particular hire and the timing of it all is the final step was to have Jay and myself meet the final 3 candidates on Zoom because
mm,
he's out of North Carolina. I called them up and they were all chomping at the bit to find out, who's getting it right. So I called him and he was ecstatic. And I hung
mm,
up and I had this weird feeling, Zach, like adrenaline rush.
mm,
I've never had an adrenaline rush hiring somebody before, but I really think what happened was taking the wisdom from all of you guys and just deciding this is a solution to a problem,
mm,
and then set some goals. Thank you very much, Zach. I have a goal muscle now in my brain, and then going through all those tasks to accomplish the final product, which is hiring somebody. I couldn't believe how overwhelmed I was for like 10 minutes. The
yeah,
adrenaline was rushing. So that's exciting to me, and that means that timing has to be played out because the opposite of what just happened was COVID,
mm,
March 2020, right? Within 3 or 4 months, we lose 4 guys. And I justifiably thought to myself, I don't need to replace them right now. That's not that important. We have to
mm,
focus on all these other things, PPP, and you do, but I didn't have I didn't take the time to fix that. And 2020 was a really tough year for us. And so I don't know. I was making excuses for myself. Does that affect the timing of things when you sit there and go,
yeah,
I can't, I'm not going to, that's not important to me to replace a third of, or, a fifth of your staff. We'll be fine without it. It's not that big of a deal. It's a pandemic. Looking back on it, so many people looking for jobs. I missed out on a lot of opportunity there to find good people. So
procrastination is definitely the opposite of
and
following the law of timing, right?
Right. Yeah, you could talk yourself through that thing and make it real fair and it makes sense, right? That it's okay. It's all right, Doug. But man, oh man. So I've really been inspired by that mistake of the right action at the wrong time. I didn't do it until 2021. Found the 6 replacements for the 4 that we lost.
Here's another scenario, and I went through it 3 times. 3 times. Have you ever fired someone too slowly? 3 times. 3 times. It's a right action, but it's at the wrong time. And like, I don't know about you, but it just defeated the morale, right? Which is one of the things that it talks about. Like, you have this intangible of morale. And when you do something at the wrong time, it kills that morale. It kills that momentum that you had in the team. Where if you would have taken care of that action sooner, you could have kept that ball rolling, right? Do you feel like it?
I mean, as a leader, who wants to say, "Oh, I did it again," right? I mean, that's even forget the team. It definitely has a huge impact, but to be able to tell yourself that you've blew it again, oh my goodness, that's just not a good feeling to have.
And you got to own it, right? Like, you got to own it.
That's what I'm saying, right? And as a leader, you have to still lead well when you're hating yourself for continuing to enable people that you should have fired sooner. Same thing with raising a service fee, right? Not to jump off topic. How many times have we read and heard and talked to our friends in the appliance community, and they are freaked out about raising their service charge $10, and they finally do it, and it was a blip on the radar screen. They just needed to do it and not to overthink it. Trust in the process.
Now, there is a balance to that, because we see that in the flooring and the kitchen remodel world right now, as I'm coming to find out, like, appliance guys are not charging enough, and these guys in some of these skilled trades are charging way too dang much.
Yeah.
I'm seeing guys that are like, well, I'm not touching a kitchen remodel for under 75 or 100,000. And I'm going, wrong timing. Like, I get where you're going. Like, honestly, like, I'm not saying like you're not valuable, but we go from 0 to 100, like, just so quickly. And so there is that balance. Some too slow, some too fast. And you can see there is that kind of like sweet spot in the middle. And you begin to learn that with intuition. You begin to learn that by having a group of people around you to help you, because, sometimes we get that target lock, right? So Doug shared, as he's going to make this decision, he's got people around him. He's goal setting. He's got all these steps in place to create the right action at the right time. It doesn't just like, hey, I took the right action at the right time. I mean, it might. You could luck into that. But isn't it better to kind of create your own luck?
I love the prayer, right? The prayer today was to have God be involved in all of that, the wisdom of God, the wisdom of your peers, to be able to celebrate alongside, to be able to support each other when the timing isn't perfect, right? So
Yeah, maybe the learning curve was on purpose. I have found that I may not have had to go down a road, but I better learn from the road that I went down, right? So maybe I did make the right action at the wrong time and I had to learn a hard lesson. I better learn that hard lesson when I learned it.
Yeah. Well, you know, and Saul, you make a great point, and I can promise you that there's at least three things, three goals the goal setting happened because of that mistake of bad timing for me in 2020. And I think it's pretty crucial because I like what you just said. I'm curious about the we went through a pandemic and a resource issue, an appliance supply issue. And yeah, I hear it with some of my technicians going, what? I'm not, that's too low for me. And the reality is these prices are going to have to shake out. And, you know, you can't do it by feel.
Yep.
We see that again on Facebook, people going, you know, what do you guys get for a service fee? Well, that's just a question that doesn't make any sense. You can't ask that. You don't. It's about what you need and what your goals for and where you live, right? So, you know, it's going to be something that Action Appliance has to know their cost of doing business. And if we begin to see a volume decrease, we might have to adjust our prices, you know.
James Dolbear beats that into everyone's head.
Yep.
I love his class. James is such a good friend. Yep. Like I appreciate his candor when he's sharing that. Like if you don't know your numbers, you can't do
James will make you sick to your stomach with the stories that he and his family experienced, or he'll just like one of those mentalists. He'll go, do you do this? And you're like, yeah, I do a lot of warranty for free tech support. Is it really free, my friend? Are you making money on warranty? I think I am, you know, and it's like, well, my father lost, however,
it was stupid amount of money,
stupid
amount of money. Yeah.
In 20 years or something like that. So
in the 90s.
If you're going to ASTI, you gotta hit James's class.
If you do nothing else, take James's class on cost of doing business. Because oh boy. But the reality is, like, James's dad didn't know any better. Like he hadn't he didn't have that group around him necessarily, because in when I hear James talking about, you know, he's talking about peer groups, masterminds, that type of mentality. Like you need that group of people around you. And while I can't say, hey, Doug, what should I charge? And go, hey, listen, like, so here's my cost of doing business, and here's what I'm thinking of doing, and here's a technician that I want to hire, a service manager I want to hire, a technical advisor I want to hire. Like, how do I make this fit? Okay, well, let's talk about changing your pricing. Let's talk about cutting some costs. Let's talk about these things in your cost of doing business that we can do. Or, hey, this is how I advertised, and so I was able to generate the revenue I needed to make up for this thing we wanted to do, right? That's where the power of a mastermind, a peer group, comes into play. That is that experience, right? If you do not have the experience yourself, you can begin to pull off the experience of others and gain the wisdom to make the choices, to make the right call at the right time. There's power in community for sure. And I mean, that's really why we at the Service Alliance Group exist. There's power in numbers. There's power in doing this together, right?
There's no question that the timing has gotten better for me leading Action Appliance because of you know, the mastermind group, because of people like you guys that we talk with. We get inspired. It's the craziest thing. One single random comment on a podcast, it doesn't have to be this one, it probably doesn't happen very often here, but a random podcast, one random thought triggers an idea, that triggers a thought that gets you to a place where you're inspired to make a change or to do something. So pretty cool. And the only way to do that is to be outward focused at the same time as being inward focused. And I believe, again, I was telling EJ yesterday, every time I come on here, I'm always just imagining the audience is a 1-2 man shop. That's just switching hats out every day and doing the best they can. And they might not be able to see above the weeds to set goals or to head in a direction that will make it easier, but harder because it'll be something new that you're working hard at. But being a guy with bad knees after 25 or 30 years, you know what that means? You're Rob Jones. No, I'm just kidding. You're setting yourself short for growth. So
I'm going to wrap up with one last question, and then we'll get into the business side of everything. So do you feel like, because one of the other things it says is you got to have a firm grasp on understanding. Do you feel like with your experience and everything that you've been through, that your team now listens to you, follows, buys in, right? Better than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when you were just starting out with Jay? Like, do you feel like that buy-in, that people, oh yeah, okay, Doug knows what he's talking about?
To be very transparent and to have a shortish answer, I would say that we are in a transition where that buy-in, because there's so many new people, needs to be retold. And we've had our heads down just trying to get all the calls done. And I feel like we are not as in a good spot as we once were, So, I mean, even just last year at ASTI, I did a company culture session, and
it was a good one, by the way.
I never did a session before, and it just kind of put it together, and it was just my experience and journey. And this year, I'm going to do it again because they asked me to, but it's a very different one because now I'm reevaluating all that. So I'm going to just tell you that there's ebbs and flows, and we've had a lot of change and growth and subtraction. So it's a never-ending battle, Zach. It really is. Wow.
You guys are funny. I love you guys. You guys are funny.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to go off onto the business tangent here. We want to thank our sponsors today. My Office Help. Shayna and her team over there at My Office Help. They are your back end office. They will answer your phones. They will schedule your calls. They will take care of those things so that you can have one last hat to keep putting on and off. They do an awesome job. I have such a heart for Shayna and the team over there at My Office Help. Give them a shout today. And if you're an all access member behind the paywall, you got a good discount back there. ITD Web Design, Mike Carson. You dream it, he builds it. He's got some of the best websites around. He understands SEO, and he really cares about what it takes to help you grow and succeed in your business. So if it's a web presence you need, give Mike a call, email, text, whatever over at itdwebdesigns.com. And finally, do you need to learn how to do sealed systems a little better? Maybe brush up on your electrical troubleshooting, something like that. TMM Academics, Brother B and his team over there at TMM Academics. Those guys are awesome. They have great training programs. They have some online training programs for technicians as well. Check it out, tmmacademics.com. And finally, ServiceAllianceGroup.com. We are here to help you guys. We have the all access plan. We have just the, technical plan over there. But we sent out the email. We posted in the groups. We're going to continue posting in the groups. Masterminds are coming. As soon as ASTI is over that weekend, the 11th, we are launching the next mastermind for Q1. It's going to run 8 weeks. It's going to be Saturday mornings, 7 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. All the information is in an email that went out if you're an all access member. Otherwise, we'll post it again in the groups. It's pinned at the top of Appliance Alliance for sure. Masterminds are awesome. There's just so much value in coming together and gaining experience, right, to improve your timing and run your business better. So you haven't signed up for a mastermind, get signed up. It's well worth the price of admission. See, and he ends with a good sentiment. I love it.
I don't. There's sarcasm in there. I'm just trying to figure out which words they are.
Coffee.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Guys, we appreciate you. Mike and TK are in tomorrow, continuing the law of timing. And then I'll be back on Thursday with Jenny and EJ. And I don't know who's coming on Friday, Miss Ward. And I don't know who the guest is going to be this week, but they'll be here on Friday with Ask Us Anything, Ask Your Questions. What do they call it? Freestyle Friday, I think is what they're calling it. It's going to be a good time. So a lot of good content coming this week. Tune in. Yeah, Mike said, link at the top of the website. There is a link that you can click on servicealliancegroup.com and you can join the mastermind right from that link. So
do it.
Well worth it. You're in a mastermind with some of the guys. Like you've continued the mastermind.
Skip the gym. Skip
the
hunting.
Hey now.
Go and join a mastermind.
Hey now. It's not and/or. It's both. You should do both.
Oh, okay.
You should do both. All right, guys. You have a good day, and we will see you next time on the Morning Grind.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.